So I was just doing some thinking, and I think I'm finally ready to admit that I am not a good business owner. I have a diversity, equity, and inclusion training and consulting firm. I also create physical products with the table of diversity. And I am okay finally accepting the fact that I am not, according to those capitalistic standards, a great business owner. Um, when I partner with subcontractors to do work alongside me, but to also do things that I can't do, like printing some of the physical products that I utilize. Um, I want to utilize companies that are owned, managed, and led by people who are also part of a marginalized community. And so oftentimes that means, I'm doing a lot of work to figure out who these people are, what their companies are, and finding out how to best utilize them. And I've been doing this for the entirety of the time that I've been in business, so for 10 years. Um, I also want to make sure that I am limiting my use of things like AI because it's just not good for the environment. But also it's like, well, I don't want to take away jobs from folks that this is what they do. This is what they're good at. So, it comes down to things like when I'm writing my children's book, using a real illustrator. And even then, I'm very intentional about finding someone who aligns with the book, which in this case, it's a black woman. Um, and so that takes time to be intentional to that level and to that degree, which means that I am not bringing a product to market super fast. And I know that that might um, hold me back in some way, but also I want to ensure that I'm not just doing great work, but I'm practicing what I'm preaching as I'm doing the work. And that is something that is very important to me, is that I'm not just telling people to do diversity, equity, and inclusion, but I'm practicing it in my own business. And I know that that might mean um, that I am not as successful according to those capitalistic standards, and I'm okay with that. Like, for so often, especially in the beginning of my business, the mentors that I had were like, you have a great product. I think that I'm one of the best at what I do. I think the table of diversity is something that a lot of people, no matter what they believe, who they are, their role within their organization, they are attracted to and find value in. And that has always been a tool that I've given away digitally for free. I've never charged for the table of diversity. If you wanted a digital copy, you could get it for free. And if you wanted it printed, in a poster and things like that, that's when I use, the women owned businesses, the veteran owned businesses in my area that do that. But it's always been a digital download for free, and it still is. And I think that is because I want the tools that I know work to be accessible. And I know that there are many organizations that pay for me to come in and to teach and to consult and to help them in their journey. But I also know that there are many that can't. They can't pay me to come in and do this work, even though they want to. And I want the work to, I want what I do to still be accessible to them. And so when I think about that, when I think about it being accessible, um, I don't want them to have to jump through hoops. I don't want me to have to think about the hoops that they have to jump through. I just want to make sure that everyone can do diversity, equity, and inclusion in a way that is transformative, that is inclusive, and that helps people feel like they belong. And that's everyone. And I know that the table of diversity does that. And I know that when I teach the table of diversity, it does that even more. And I don't want that to be off limits to anyone just because they can't afford it. And so I know that that's according to capitalistic standards. It's like if they can't afford it, then just leave them behind. And it's like, what? That doesn't make sense in my world. That doesn't align with my values. And so that's always been super hard for me. So that's how I know that I am probably not the best business owner according to those capitalistic standards, because if you tell me that what I charge is too much, I don't take it personally because I already know my worth. But at the same time, I'm going to be like, okay, well, let's work something out. Like, what can you afford? What can you do? And let's make this work. And I know in business, that is just not how things typically go. So I don't know, maybe I'm rewriting the rules of business to make it work for me. But at the same time, there's so much pressure to run a business, and where the number one factor of success is how much money you're making. And don't get me wrong, I know I got to make money, and I am making money because that's how the bills get paid. That's how the kids get taken care of. But at the same time, that's not the number one measure of success for me. Like, the number one measure of success is the transformation. And sometimes that's hard. That's hard to reckon with, just because that's not how it works in the business world. Anyway, I'm going on and on and on to say that I am finally, after 10 years of being in business, okay with the fact that my business, might not be a multi-billion-dollar business, because the way that I'm going about building my business is very ethical. It's very intentional. And I ensure that every step of the way that people are taken care of, people have what they need, and I am considerate of that each and every step of the way. And in the end, that helps me sleep better at night, but also it's going to bring me additional levels of success that money just can't bring me. And I'm okay with that. So what do you think? Like, how much more, will you consider that in your purchasing process? Does that even matter?